Welcome back, everybody. Well, last week, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the Phelps versus Snyder, an emotional case that asked the justices to decide whether a group's right to outrageously protest outweighs a family's right to privacy when burying their fallen soldier's son. Congressman John Boccieri is an Iraq War veteran who has been outspoken on this issue of military funerals, and he's joining us now from Cleveland. Congressman, welcome. Nice to have you here today.
Thank you, Uma. I appreciate you.
I know that you were a pilot flying missions during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. So the issue is very personal for you, since you flew wounded and fallen soldiers out of Baghdad. You have a law in Ohio that keeps protesters 300 yards away from grieving families at military funerals, and you'd like that to be the standard across the country. Tell us more about the resolution that you've introduced in the House.
Well, thanks, Uba. There's no question that this is deeply personal for me as I've flown wounded and fallen soldiers out of these two conflicts. But this landmark case is going to test the rights to privacy versus the rights to free speech. And it is my personal belief that the rights to free speech, to say whatever you want, end at the grieving families' rights to privacy, and that's what this court case is going to address. In Ohio, back in 2006, we had a bill passed that suggested that the right to privacy begins at 300 feet away from the grieving family's funeral, and we had this enacted. It has not been challenged in the court as of yet, but this very group that is now before the Supreme Court actually protests me in the State House. We have introduced a resolution in the Congress that would uphold Congress's intent of protecting the rights of privacy of this family.
So what do you say to those people who are arguing that this is a basic free speech issue and that no matter how insensitive protest groups are, you will not be able to take legislative measures to stop it? How do you respond to that?
Well, Uma, in previous court cases, it's been about the content of the speech. At issue here is where the rights of this grieving family's privacy begin. The court has spoken many times, and you know, we've seen in presidential debates and protests of such, those protesters have been moved back 300 feet. It's been upheld in abortion clinics and the like. So, you know, we want to respect this family's right to privacy. We're not talking about the content of the speech. This family, this Westboro Baptist Church, has the right to say whatever they want, but they have to do it at a respectful distance, respecting the family's right to privacy.
So do you believe that the right to privacy trumps free speech?
I don't think any one of our rights trumps the other, and I hope that the Supreme Court will uphold that. We can't pit our right to privacy against the right to free speech. There should be respectful distances, and I think that they're going to try to identify in this court case who is indeed a public figure and who is not. That is a separate issue other than what a family's right to privacy and where that should begin.
Let me ask you on a personal note, what upsets you the most when you see these protesters showing up at these funerals when families are grieving and are so vulnerable?
I just think it's abhorrent that this group, who in the name of God would go and protest at these families who are trying to bury their loved one, their service member, their soldier, their family, their friend, who has served our country so honorably and so nobly. And it's just to get a rise and get media attention, in my opinion, and I think it's extremely disrespectful. We should honor and uphold these families who are grieving and suffering because their family member has paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
All right, Congressman Boccieri, thank you so much for joining us today, and of course we're waiting to see how